Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire with 2 limbs. Let's turn some pages together. Yes, it's been a minute, and I realize I'm going to get the 5 and 2 out this week, I promise. Yeah. Okay. So without further ado, Ferdinand the Faithful. Once on a time lived a man and a woman who so long as they were rich and had no children, but when they were poor, they had a little boy. They could, however, find no godfather for him, so the man said he would just go to another place to see if he could get one there. As he went, a poor man met him who asked him where he was going. He said he was going to see if he could get a godfather, that he was poor, so no one would stand as godfather for him. "Oh," said the poor man, "you are poor, and I am poor. I will be godfather for you. But I am so ill off, I can give the child nothing. Go home and tell the nurse that she is to come to the church with the child." And when they all got to the church together, the beggar was already there, and he gave the child the name of Ferdinand the Faithful. And when he was going out of the church, the beggar said, "Now go home, I can give you nothing wise, and you likewise ought to give me nothing." But he gave a key to the nurse, and told her when she got home she was to give it to the father, who was to take care of it until the child was 14 years old, and then he was to go on the heath, where there was a castle which the key would fit, and all which was inside should belong to him. Now, when the child was 7 years old and had grown very big, he once went to play with some other boys, and each of them boasted that he had got more from his godfather than the other. But the child could say nothing, and was vexed, and went home and said to his father, "Did I get nothing at all, then, from my godfather?" "Oh, yes," said your father, "you got a key. If there's a castle standing on the heath, just go to it and open it." Then the boy went there, but no castle was to be seen or heard of. After 7 years more, when he was 14 years old, he again went there, and there stood a castle. When he had opened it, there was nothing within but a horse, a white one. Then the boy was so full of joy because he had a horse. Then he mounted on it and galloped back to his father. "Now I have a white horse, and I will travel," said he. So he set out, and he was on his way. A pen was lying on the road. At first he thought he would pick it up, but then again he thought to himself, "You should leave it lying there. You will easily find a pen where you are going if you have need of one." As he was thus riding away, a voice called after him, "Ferdinand the Faithful, take it with you." He looked around, but saw no one. Then he went back again and picked it up. When he had ridden a little way farther, he passed by a lake, and a fish was lying on the bank, gasping and panting for breath. So he said, "Wait, my dear fish, I will help you get into the water." And he took hold of it by the tail and threw it into the lake. Then the fish put its head out of the water and said, "As you have helped me out of the mud, I will give you a flute. When you are in need, play on it, and then I will help you. And if ever you let anything fall in the water, just play, and I will reach it out to you." Then he rode away, and there came to him a man who asked him where he was going. "Oh, to the next place." Then he asked what his name was. "Ferdinand the Faithful." "So, then, we have got almost the same name. I am called Ferdinand the Unfaithful." And they both set out to the inn in the nearest place. Now it was unfortunate that Ferdinand the Unfaithful knew everything that the other had ever thought, and everything he was about to do. He knew it by means of all kinds of wicked arts. There was, however, in the inn an honest girl who had a bright face and behaved very prettily. She fell in love with Ferdinand the Faithful because he was a handsome man, and she asked him where he was going. "Oh, I am just traveling round about," said he. Then she said he ought to stay there, for the king of that country wanted an attendant or an outrider, and he ought to enter his service. He answered he could not very well go to anyone like that and offer himself. Then said the maiden, "Oh, but I will soon do that for you." And so she went straight to the king, and told him that she knew of an excellent servant for him. He was well pleased with that, and had Ferdinand the Faithful brought to him, and asked to make him his servant. He, however, liked better to be an outrider, for where his horse was, there he also wanted to be. So the king made him an outrider. When Ferdinand the Unfaithful learned that, he said to the girl, "What? Do you help him and not me?" "Oh," said the girl, "I will help you too." She thought, "I must keep friends with that man, for he is not to be trusted." She went to the king and offered him as a servant, and the king was willing. Now when the king met his lords in the morning, he always lamented and said, "Oh, if I had but my love with me." Ferdinand the Unfaithful was, however, always hostile to Ferdinand the Faithful. So once, when the king was complaining thus, he said, "You have the outrider, send him away to get her, and if he does not do it, his head must be struck off." Then the king sent for Ferdinand the Faithful and told him that there was in this place or in that place a girl he loved, and that he was to bring her to him, and if he did not do it, he should die. The Ferdinand the Faithful went into the stable to his white horse, and complained and lamented, "Oh, what an unhappy man am I!" Then someone behind him cried, "Ferdinand the Faithful, why do you weep?" He looked round but saw no one, and went on lamenting, "Oh, my dear little white horse, now must I leave you, now must I die." Then someone cried once more, "Ferdinand the Faithful, why do you weep?" Then for the first time he was aware that it was the little white horse who was putting that question. "Do you speak, my little white horse? Can you do that?" And again he said, "I am to go to this place and to that. I am to bring the bride, and can you tell me how I am to set about it?" Then answered the little white horse, "Go to the king and say if he will give you what you must have, you will get her for him. And if he will give you a ship full of meat, a ship full of bread, it will succeed. Great giants dwell in the lake, and if you take no meat with you for them, they will tear you to pieces, and there are the large birds which would peck the eyes out of your head if you had no bread for them." Then the king made all the butchers in the land kill, and all the bakers bake, and the ships might be filled. When they were full, the little white horse said to Ferdinand the Faithful, "Now mount me, and go with me into the ship, and then when the giants come, say, 'Peace, peace, my dear little giants, I have had thought of you, something I have brought for you.' And when the birds come, you shall again say, 'Peace, peace, my dear little birds, I have thought of you, and something I have brought for you.' Then they will do nothing to you, and when you come to the castle, the giants will help you. Then go up to the castle, and take a couple of giants with you. There the princess lies sleeping. You must, however, not awaken her, but the giants must lift her up and carry her in her bed to the ship." And now everything took place as the little white horse had said, and Ferdinand the Faithful gave the giants and the birds what he had brought with him for them. That made the giants willing, and they carried the princess in her bed to the king. And when she came to the king, she said she could not live. She must have her writings. They had been left in her castle. Then by the instigation of Ferdinand the Unfaithful, Ferdinand the Faithful was called, and the king told him he must fetch the writings from the castle, or he should die. Then he went once more into the stable, and bemoaned himself, and said, "Oh, my dear little white horse, now I am to go away again, how am I to do it?" And then the little white horse said he was to load the ships full again. So it happened again, as it happened before, and the giants and the birds were satisfied and made gentle by the meat. When they came to the castle, the white horse told Ferdinand the Faithful that he must go in, that on the table in the princess's bedroom lay the writings. And Ferdinand the Faithful went in and fetched them. When they were on the lake, he let his pen fall into the water. Then said the white horse, "Now I cannot help you at all." But he remembered his flute, and began to play on it, and the fish came with the pen in its mouth and gave it to him. So he took the writings to the castle where the wedding was celebrated. The queen, however, did not love the king because he had no nose, but she would have liked to love Ferdinand the Faithful. Once, therefore, when all the lords of the court were together, the queen said she could do feats of magic, that if she could cut off anyone's head and put it on again, and that one of them ought just to try it. But none of them would be the first. So Ferdinand the Faithful, again at the instigation of Ferdinand the Unfaithful, undertook it, and she hewed off his head and put it on again for him, and it healed together directly, so that it looked as if he had a red thread round his throat. Then the king said to her, "My child, where have you learned that?" "Yes," she said, "I understand the art. Shall I just try it on you also?" "Oh, yes," said he, but she cut off his head, and did not put it on again, but pretended that she could not get it on, and that it would not keep fixed. Then the king was buried, and she married Ferdinand the Faithful. He, however, always rode on his white horse, and once when he was seated on it, it told him that he was to go on to the heath, which he knew, and gallop 3 times round it, and when he had done that, the white horse stood up on its hind legs and was changed into a king's son. Well, I feel like that was a bit of a roller coaster. Like, that was a little confusing for me, at least. Like, it felt anticlimactic. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Okay. So in the beginning, we have this poor man. Like, he was rich, and then, like, they couldn't have a kid, and then they have a kid. But that's after he's poor. And, like, sometimes kids don't come, like, sometimes things don't come in the way you want them to. Kids, other things, you know, etc. So, yeah. And it can be hard, and it can be good, so. And then there's this other beggar who's like, I'll stand as godfather and I won't give you anything. But then he gives him something. And, I don't know, make of that what you will. But then, okay, so then these kids are like, my godfather's gift is better than yours. My dad could beat up your dad. So they're sitting there bragging, essentially. Is what they're like, well, I'm cooler than you because my godfather loves me more than your godfather loves you. And the one kid's like, does my godfather even love me? So then he goes home and is like, hey, did my godfather give me any presents? And he's like, sure, go check it out, whatever, I don't care. And then there's nothing, but then like 7 years later, ta-da, there's something. And so again, just this idea that some things don't come at the time, like, until the time is right. Honestly, that's really it. But also, like, the idea that, like, he was happy with just a horse because he knew to be happy with what he was given. And he loved that horse. And the horse turned into a person, though. Like, this is also a common theme. The horse turned into a person, though. Like, hold up. And he loved riding the horse. So, like, what happens after? Because he can, like, it's no longer a horse. Does he get a new horse? I don't know. Semantics. You know. So sometimes things are hard. Ugh. Sorry. Okay. What else was I going to say? I don't know. The whole part with the queen, like going and getting the queen and then her cutting the dude's head off. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that went in an entirely different direction than the rest of the story was going. But sometimes life is like that. And I guess that the time was not right for the rest of the story that we thought we were getting. I don't know, man. I can't tell you what to do. Alright, my gremlins. Thank you for joining us for another Happily Ever After. Or not so happily ever after. That's up for you to decide, and what you decide is valid. Because you're valid. You are. Either way, this is the end for today's episode, so tune in later and we can learn more and turn new pages together.